And welcome back. Now today I've got a nice little device, this little thing here on my desk, that's going to be very, very useful as we move into summer. And in fact, it would have been really useful in the past winter as well. What is it? Well, this is a temperature display, but with it comes this bit here, which is a thermocouple type K. And we'll go through the different types of thermocouple. So basically a temperature reader, but not just any old temperature reader. This is a very high temperature reader, something that normal temperature sensors could not do. If you're thinking in the Arduino world, for example, a DS18B20, which is absolutely superb. You can address it uniquely by an address, and it can measure air temperature and stuff and go below zero. That's absolutely fine. But you couldn't, for example, do what this one does, which is, for example, measure the temperature inside a wood-burning stove flue, which will get, I don't know, 200 to 300 degrees centigrade, or indeed measure the exhaust gases on a turbocharged car, which is what they were used for decades ago, or a barbecue weather's coming up, pretty much, another couple of months. If you want to find out what the temperature of your barbecue is before you put the food on, this would be absolutely ideal, and it's really easy to fit and everything else. And best of all, guess what? Yes, it's cheap. So before we fire it up, because all it takes is 12 volts via these little red and black wires here, let's have a look where I got it from, and then we'll discuss a little bit more about these little bits of stuff I got on here, and that thing at the back. Oh yeah, and that too. Yeah, okay, let's get on. Right, this is where I got it from, Banggood, who do deliver stuff now within a few days. I don't understand how they're doing this. I order stuff sometimes weeks and weeks in advance for these videos, and suddenly I've had about 10 things all arrive at once. Absolute chaos in my workshop. But anyway, I ordered this and it came just a few days later. And as you can see, $7.44, which is in fact £5.79, which is an absolute steal. Not only do you get the meter itself, let me just hover over here. Not only do you get that meter, of course, but you do get this K-Type Thermocouple as well. And well, connecting it is what you see there in the picture. Really, it's just plus and minus to 12 volts, and well, that's it. Then you put your thermocouple wherever you want the temperature to be registered from. So what I'm going to do then is connect this up to 12 volts, and well, we'll have a go with my Dremel flamethrower thing, well, heat gun. All right, it's pretty hot though, and we'll just see what sort of success rate we have. Now my multimeter, funnily enough, also comes with a thermocouple for temperature readings, which I've used once in a blue moon just to test the accuracy of this out, and guess what? Yeah, they're within a degree of each other, so I'm confident that this is good value for money, certainly good enough for the sort of things I've already mentioned, you know, barbecues, wood burning stove flues, hot stuff like that, you know. It's unlikely you're going to put it into a turbocharged engine these days. They're all computer controlled. You don't have to do that anymore. And you've probably got one built into your car anyway. So, okay, let's fire it up and see how it's working. Right, it's powered up, and as you can see, it's showing a temperature here of 23.5. which I'm just looking over there to another temperature display I got. It says 22 point something I can't read, my eyes aren't that good, and the other one down there is 22.8. so 23.5, given it's under lights and things here, is probably about right. And if you hold this end, it will go up. There we are, look, off it goes. Now if you're thinking, Ralph, that's not the clearest display I've ever seen, well, remember, I've taken it out of the case at the moment, deliberately to show you a couple of points. So what comes with it is this little what do you call it, diffuser, I suppose. Look, so that makes it a lot easier to see. Yeah, it goes into this bezel here, by the way. Right, so it all slots in together. But even better, I have often mentioned when using LEDs that you should really put some LED acrylic sheet in front of the LEDs. That's what this is. So the acrylic sheet and that diffuser that comes with it really does make a huge difference. Now look at that. That is superb, is it not? Yeah. Now in real life, I'm just looking past the camera here because it looks a little bit sharper in real life than it does there on camera. Maybe it's the focusing that's not quite right. Let's bring it real close and see how well it focuses. Yeah, that's not bad. Yeah, pretty good. Now this is very legible in real life, okay, and as I say, all this just fits inside this little bezel, and then there's a snap fit inside a case, a front panel enclosure, let's say enclosure inside a case, and very neat it is too, very easy to set up as well. And as I say, I've tested this temperature thing here and it's pretty good. But what's, apart from the high temperature aspect then, what is this? And what's all this gubbins round the back? Maybe you spotted it. There's a little thing here sticking up. What's all that about? Well, that is at least part of the reason why this temperature is going all over the place at the moment. Let me get the one out from my multimeter, and then I think things will become a lot clearer. So this is what plugs into my multimeter. That's just an adapter that comes with the multimeter, but this is what you normally get with a thermocouple type K. So you get the yellow plug, and at the other end of this wire is this tiny little thing. We'll have to make it focus on that. If you can see that tiny little bead at the end of that piece of wire, basically that is a bead of a mix of metals. There we are. That's the metals on the screen, because they have a known property in as much that how much voltage they generate, because the two are mixed in a particular way, and it's about 41 microvolts per centigrade. I say about, I'd have to look at the spec sheet again to have an absolute value, but that's about it. And you can see how tiny that is. Now that by itself, if you were to stick that into a barbecue or the chimney of a wood burning stove, that would work 100%, but because it is what it is, I mean, it's not, very protected, is it? This isn't meant for that sort of thing. It wouldn't last that long. Hence why this one over here is all crimped onto this nut, so that the idea is you have a flat panel and you drill a hole and this goes into it. Right, now you might think, well, hang on, if I've already got something in situ like a chimney for a wood burning stove, how do I get this attached to it? And the answer is very simple. You use something called a RivNut, which is short for Rivet Nut. What's a Rivet Nut? Simplicity itself. Let me explain. So this is an M6 flanged RivNut, which is what the screw requirement on here is, by the way. That's an M6 screw, and it revolves round. I mean, the bit at the end, the actual temperature measurement, is the bit that's goes through this screw, so that goes around quite happily. So if we go back to the browser, so this is an M6 flanged RivNut, and the idea is, if I show you the picture of it there, you drill a hole. I think in this case it tells you exactly, but I think it's like a 9mm hole. You put this in, screw something up in the middle of this, and as you do so, it collapses this thing down and squishes it against the panel, the metal panel, whatever it is you've put it into. Okay, so like the chimney of your wood burning stove, that would be the case, or your barbecue if you've got somewhere on the back you want to put it into. Pretty easy stuff. In fact, there's a video that shows you exactly how this is put together, and I'll put a link in the video description down below. Okay, and you can watch that. It's really easy to do. That said, I was thinking about it. When I watched it, I thought, well, we use something like that in the DIY world anyway, and that's what this and that gun thing at the back is all about. This is also an M6 collapsible wall bolt, I suppose you'd call it. There's probably a proper name for it, but I don't know. So this is a collapsible wall bolt. Basically, if you want to put something onto the wall, then you want it to stay there and not fall off. You drill a hole big enough for the widest part of this, also it's a tight fit. We're talking about plasterboard here. All right, there's a different name I believe in America for it, but it's made of plaster. It's what your internal walls are made of. You push this through the wall, so it's sticking out like that. You then tighten up this screw slowly, bit by bit, and as you do so, as you can see, it's already starting to sort of bow in the middle. This collapses back up on itself, and these little legs here spring out and keep springing out and then go flat against the wall. Now this bit here is meant for a plasterboard of about 10mm thick, 12.5 maybe, and this then forms a nice little series of sprung out legs on the back of that wall to give it some security and a bigger area on which it's pulling on. So what you could do is use one of these potentially, take the bolt out and then screw this into here, which would then be screwing into the bottom effectively by putting that through, because by then it would be all squished, and that could be an alternative way of doing it. And that gun thing, just for full information, is a way of putting this in without having to screw that up. That slides in there like that, and if I was to pull that trigger now, it would pull that bolt and squish it up against the wall. I won't do it because they're not cheap. You buy these in packs of 10, and I'd like to keep that, but you don't mind. So anyway, I just thought that might be an alternative way of doing it rather than the RivNut, but it's certainly, the RivNut is the approved way of doing it, really, anything like this. They're aluminium, and they can take high temperatures as well. So that's the way this screws in. And so this end is that mixture of metals. What about the other end then? Well, the other end, the cold end as it's known, is referenced to this little thing here. So what we're talking about is this little device here. Now you mustn't touch this, and this mustn't get any warmer than the actual block that you've screwed the thermocouple into, and then it will be nice and accurate. If you start mucking about with this, or this gets warm for some reason, then your temperature will be all over the shop. As you can see, it's doing funny things now. Now I'll put a few links in the video itself as to how thermocouples work, but basically that is it. You've got the hot end, you've got the cold end, and the difference with that 41 microvolts per centigrade is what this chip can eventually work out. Now, a word of warning: if you think, this cable's a little bit short actually for my chimney, but time I've screwed this in, I want this a metre away, not whatever this is, 40 centimetres, I'll just extend these cables. I'm afraid it doesn't work like that. They're all balanced and measured, and you just can't, basically you can't do that at all. What you have got to do is buy the right ones. So if I go back to the browser, so here we have a whole selection of cables. This is actually once again on the Banggood site, and there are various sizes. They must be K-type. All right, we'll come on to the types in just a second, because why K-type, you ask? Well, all right, it's cheap, they're hard wearing, and they just work. There are other types, so we'll come on to them. Now, I was wondering whether or not we could put these screw terminals into a plug like this one here, and then use a socket, so you could use various lengths or various types. But apparently that's not approved. It might work, but it might not. In fact, let me give you a close-up of one of those things. There we are, look. So this is what you might buy normally. There's your thermocouple and the actual socket on the back as well. But we don't want the socket, we want mounting spades as per the one I've got here, which is why I'm showing you these ones from Banggood, because each of these has got those spades on it. Now this one is a 1 metre cable. Actually it's 3 pieces of a 1 metre cable, so you've got 3 of them, and they've got the spades on here. That's a different end here, if you notice. This end is different. It's not, it might not be captive. We have to be careful of that. This one's actually for 3D printers. It could be a different fitting. Now, alternative methods of connecting this to, well, anything really. You could use something called a cage nut. Not quite as good as a RivNut, but possibly easier to work with. This is a Wikipedia article on cage nut. You can see them over here. Basically, you drill a hole, put this into the springy bits in the hole, and then screw up, and it's all nice and tight. That may work, and well, probably would work, but I would prefer to use a RivNut myself. The video link that I'm putting at the bottom of this shows a special tool that this guy's using, but you don't need that tool. in order to fit a RivNut. It only needs to squash up a little bit and then it will be firm. Now, the different types of thermocouple, so we're saying this is a 12 volt type K. Well, what other types are there? Let's have a look. Right, and this is a very good website that I found because I didn't know the difference between K and anything else. But if you have a look down here, I'll leave the link on the board. But basically, type K, this one here, is the most common type. It's inexpensive, accurate, reliable, and has a wide range of temperatures. Great. But as I say, you can't just extend the wires and hope it's going to work. You must buy the length that's suitable for you. So a little bit bigger than what you need, and you can always lose the extra cable inside a casing around the back or something. Okay. There's a type J, very common, smaller temperature range, shorter lifespan. Sounds like we don't really want one of those then, doesn't it? There's type T, very stable, often used in extremely low temperature applications. Well, that's not what I'm aiming at with this little device. And then E, which is a stronger signal and hence higher accuracy than type K or J at moderate temperatures of 1,000 degrees Fahrenheit and lower. Moderate 1,000 degrees. See what I mean? They can measure all sorts of stuff. Amazing. Possibly even pizza ovens and, well, even clay ovens perhaps this could be useful. There's all sorts of things out there that get hot in normal use, and this sort of thing would be ideal for that. Type S, what does that say? Platinum, rhodium. Well, I'll tell you what, I'll save you the pain of me scrolling down this page. I'll leave a link, thermocouple info, and you can read it at your leisure. Back to the workshop then. Right, here it is then in its housing with that red acetate sheet. I'll put a link in on that. It's really inexpensive. You get an A4 sheet, or letter size approximately for you Americans, and it's thin, bendy, and sorry, you want me to show you some? All right then, let me go and get some and you'll see what I mean. Right, here we are. This is it. Look, so it's thin, lighting, acetate sheet. So lighting as in high temperature, although not that that's high temperature. And it's really cheap. As you can see, this is one piece of A4. Can't even get it all on camera, look. And you can see I've snipped bits out over the years because I always use this, and it does make a huge difference. Even makes a difference on that, holding it over there now, even though it's already got some on it. And as I say, this is probably about £2, something like that. $3, $4, something like along those lines. It's just really cheap and easy, and you can get it at much longer lengths. Now I've got a future project in mind where I'm going to need 1 meter of LED matrix display, like a ticker tape moving across the screen. So of course I need a very long strip, so I've bought I think it's 1 meter or 2 meters on a roll, and that wasn't particularly expensive either, to be quite honest, but that's for a future day. So here we are then. Lovely little meter, £5.79, or in dollars it was, let me just recheck that, it was $7.44 from Banggood as we speak. As long as I keep my fingers off the back, because I keep touching that little sensor there, it's sending it haywire. But really accurate as well. As I say, I've tested it against my multimeter one, this one here, and you would hope of course that the one that comes with my multimeter would be pretty accurate, wouldn't you? And it is, and this one is within, I think it's within about ½ a degree if I left it long enough. It took quite a while to get to parity, but it was within about ½ a degree, and within 1 degree almost immediately, which is, as I say, for the sort of things that you're measuring for this, it's more than good enough. So sorry, what was that? Yes, high temperatures. You want me to get my Dremel flamethrower out, don't you, just to prove it? All right then, let's go and do that next. Right, now I've got no association whatsoever with Dremel, but this is one of the best things I've ever bought in a long time. I've had it probably 18 months now, maybe. It's the Dremel gas-powered torch. Does it say on there? Nothing particular. Oh yes, model 2000 and a number there, which I'm sure you can read. Made in Taiwan for Dremel. Anyway, basically that's just a protective cap, and what this allows you to do is unscrew this bit here and put on various soldering ends, which I have used outside. For example, if you've ever tried to do any real life soldering outside when the wind's blowing, you'll realise how frustrating it can be, because the wind cools down the soldering iron just like that. Now I do have a 100-watt soldering iron, plug-in soldering iron, but it's all big and clunky and not very nice. Whereas this, you plug in the soldering iron tip on the end there, it's a screw in, and well, Bob's your uncle. Still, that's not what we're here for. We're here to heat this up and see what happens. So let me start this up. A nice whistle. I can now turn it on continuous. There we are, you can see it glowing. So let's heat this up and see what happens. Now I don't want to blow things up here, so I'm just going to just let it run as though this were a well, a pizza oven or a barbecue or something. Well, it's going up. Almost ready for the sausages, alright? Now I think this iron can actually go up to about 200. So, ouch. I don't want to burn myself. Oh, I think I'm running out of gas. I can hear it spluttering. We can see the end of it glowing nicely, or at least having some sort of blue flame on there. So there we have it, look. I mean, you can see that it's already gone up to 170, which isn't quite high enough for a wood burning stove. You want the flue to be about, I believe it's between 200 and 250. Oh, there we are, look. And barbecue, I've absolutely no idea what the cooking temperature should be before you put your steaks or burgers on there. But I'm guessing, let's turn this off. And I must be careful not to touch that now. I'm guessing that's going to be more than adequate, really. Brilliant. Now you try doing that with a DS 1820 B20, whatever it's called, sensor for your Arduino, and you'll just have a molten pile of wires on your workbench. So horses for courses, this is the one you need. Right, now I've got to try very hard not to burn myself, not to burn my bench. That plastic cap can actually fit on there straight away, so you can put it away straight away, and it keeps it all not touching anything. So that's a good little iron, that. Gas powered. You just use normal lighter fluid fill for that. Okay, I think that just about covers it then. Nice. Great. Well, thanks Banggood for sending me that, although I do believe I did purchase it. I don't think they gave it to me for free this time. But I just saw it and I thought, hey, now that is great, because my daughter's partner really loves his barbecues in the summer, and he's got a log burning stove as well, which he keeps putting damp wood in and wondering why it's not very hot. So this is exactly the sort of thing that he needs. All right, great stuff. I'd love your comments and suggestions what else we could use this for, and don't forget to comment down below if you haven't already subscribed. Good opportunity for you to do so in just a few seconds, and love to hear from you. I do reply to just about every comment unless they're rude or something. Don't get many of those, and see you in the next video. Thanks for watching. I hope you're finding these videos useful and interesting. There are plenty more videos to choose, and a couple are shown below. And if you'd like to subscribe to this channel, just click on my picture below and enjoy the rest of the videos. Thanks for watching.